hello. This is D. McClung, and this is Archer Monologues. I'm gonna just let the mic go. Let the words ramble out. I want to talk about something. Something important, actually. I want to try to explain something to you in such a way that you get it. That's the problem. One of the problems in modern America and other countries, other societies. People believe stupid shit. They have fallen victim of their own naivete, their own gullibility. I see the big picture. I see the scene as if standing back from it and seeing not just the scene that we're, let's look at it like as if it was like a movie or a picture, a painting, photograph. I see the picture. I see the image. I see the scene being played out. And I see the screen that this scenario is being played out on. I see the props. And I see the behind the scenes activities. I can see the cameraman, the director, the misdirector. I can see the fake fog being piped onto the set. I don't know everything. I don't know every detail of every situation and every I don't know the name of the sound man. I don't know what the script writer looks like. Perhaps the script writer might be some guy sitting in a windowless basement somewhere, writing away scripts for the movie that is being played out in front of our eyes. That movie which we call life. I'm not going to talk about God here. That's probably a part of the conversation somewhere along the line, but it's not part of this one. Surprise, surprise. God doesn't get to talk all the time. Well, the puppets for God don't get to talk all the time. I won't get into that. Another time. All right. My job, and if I was to put it in simple language, my job is to observe and then to critically analyze what I observe and then express the results of that critical analytic observation. I can express myself by just simply describing what I see with my seeing machine, my mind's eye, so to speak. Let's understand this also. Looking is what your eyes do. They look. They are directed by your conscious and unconscious or subconscious mind to look and see what is in front of your face, so to speak. I'm big on this looking and seeing thing. I'm an artist. It's important to look at things. It's important to see things, scenarios, scenes, the picture, and the bigger picture. It's important to look, gather the information, have that information stream to my brain, where my third eye, they call it the third eye. It seems almost like people are mystical or some sort of spiritual or religious concept, but we actually do have a third eye. It's that, pituitary gland? That place in the brain, the information that we see, when we look at something, that information is gathered up by the eyes and the eye nerves and electronic process of having that sent to the eyeball, to the receptacle, into the place where all that information is put in the machine called the eye. I don't mean there's an eyeball. There's different ways to describe an eye. There's an eye. By the way, I'm the eye demon, which is sort of like the eye demon. It's that's sort of like saying speed demon. I'm not talking about being, the devil's henchman here. I'm wandering off on the different tangents because it's important to know all the little details of these things what I'm talking about in order to fully grasp what I'm talking about. If I cannot give you the full picture, then you will not get a full picture. You will not see in your mind. You will not comprehend the full picture, the whole concept. And that's one of the drawbacks of being me, is that I try to get all the information crammed into this one paragraph or one page of words. And that's confusing to people, apparently, from what I understand. Because people say, what? What are you talking about? And then, of course, they get it all wrong because they just make up shit in their head and say, I think you said this, and then you believe that I said that, and that's not what I said. But need to work on my keeping it simple capacities here, but not today. We'll just leave it complicated, and you can just try to sort it out if you can. If you can't, then there's always another show, another book, another posting on the internet that you can read or see and or look at. Whether you see it or not is questionable. And then you can do the best you can with that. Sometimes I feel sorry for people that they can't grasp simple concepts, and sometimes I feel sorry for them that they get confused because they're not paying attention to the details. And other times I just feel sorry for people because I just load those details into that one picture. It's like, imagine a painting that has 12 paintings within the painting. A collage, if you would. So, at any rate, what I'm trying to say is this. Oh, I'm not trying. I am saying it. Get back to the original thought. I observe, I see, meaning I understand, I grasp, I comprehend what I'm looking at. There are many facets of what you see, what you look at. What you see when you look at something. I look at a painting and I see the painting. I see the painting differently than most people. Particularly if I'm the one that painted it. Which is probably part of the idea. I won't get into the art of it so much right now. What I'm trying to do here is express to you what I am and what I do and why. The substance of it, as well as the spirit of the thing. What I do, I'll just express it kind of in a simple way, so as not to confuse you too much, more than you already are. I see the big picture. I see the details. I comprehend what is not readily visible to the ordinary eye or mind. I try to express that which I see. The unfortunate part is, most people are ill-equipped to see what I see, to comprehend what I comprehend. In a way, that is a good thing, because they're not me, and I'm not them. I don't want to insult my audience. And to be sure, my audience is a lot larger than who is listening to me right at this moment. Usually, when people are listening to this radio show, it's one person listening. So it's pretty much one person at a time in my audience. But there are more than one person listening to this at any given time, or over a period of time. And the goal there is to, of course, have as many listeners as possible, like thousands or even millions. That would be great, but that's not the case now, but perhaps in the future. You know, I'm aiming towards the audience numbers. There's my cat saying, I want to go out. So, okay, I'm going to put this on pause, and I'll be back in a minute. I'm back. All right, so I'm just thinking to myself, what I've said here the last 14 minutes is, have I accomplished anything at all so far? Have I said anything that is going to communicate to you what I'm trying to say? And am I trying, or am I actually saying what I want to say? Is it confusing to you? Am I confusing the audience? That's possible. Is it my fault? Am I just not doing it properly? Am I not doing my job correctly? Perhaps. So let's, just so I don't feel that I've wasted 15 minutes here, I'm going to continue. I'll try to salvage it. Might be, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But the good thing is, I'm recording this show. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning on August the 16th, 2016. I can always do another one. That's amazing. I can record another show. So let's see if I can proceed here without flubbing up too badly. My original concept here was to explain something that I do not do as a rule. Beyond whatever it is that I present in the first place. In other words, if I paint a painting, I do it, an image, I paint it, sign it, it's colors on the canvas, put it in a frame if I'm a mind to, and I present that painting to the public, either to certain individuals or to just the general public in, say, through some outlets such as fineartamerica.com, or I put the artwork on a calendar, which I create calendars, and I put my artwork on those calendars. They're available for sale and through lulu.com. An expensive printing company. I'm wandering again. All right. Here's what I do. All right, cut to the chase. Here's what I do. I look and I observe. I see. I analyze the data in my mind. I have a name for that. Middle mind, where the organ is that interprets, analyzes, and puts things in perspective in the human mind. A lot of people, well, everyone has that ability. But the degree of that ability in each of us is say unique. Some of us can do it better than others, is what I'm saying. And some of us are very, very poor at thinking things through in that mind's eye, so to speak, or seeing things, grasping, understanding, comprehending. Some better than others. Some are better at it than others. I'm better at it than many, let's say. Try to be modest a little bit, D. At least try to be modest. All right. I don't know why I have to try, but I guess people like that when I try to be modest. Reminds me of Dolly. Dolly would often say, I've heard him say it, Dali is not modest. I can say that. Paraphrase. D. McClung is not modest. Much. Not much. Somebody got the idea. Oh, well, you should be modest. Or humble. Well, if I am humbled by something, I will be humble. Just to be humble, just in order to be fulfill some expectation of society, which is fickle. No. The universe makes me humble. In view of the cosmos and the wonder of it, and the vastness of it, and the incomprehensibleness of it, that humbles me. American society doesn't really humble me much. Don't see much to be humble about there. All right. Here's what I do. I analyze, I criticize, I analyze. I do a critical analytic observation and figure that out, put that in my head, let the machinery go to work and put that in some perspective. Try to make it a logical perspective, a reasonable perspective. A lot of people are not reason able, by the way, and that's sad. And I'm trying hard here not to be a little bit humble by not saying something like most people are not. Well, I wasn't going to say that, was I? All right. So here's the deal. I use a process called, and it's not something I invented, it's not something I made up, it's not fiction, it's not, I don't own it, it's not mine. It's just the nature of human mental processes. It's called calculated, logical conclusions. Calculated, logical conclusions. And I add that to the other aspect of thinking and doing, or being and doing. The critical analytic observation. I'm going to borrow a phrase from an artist friend of mine. Used to be a friend of mine. He abandoned me. Won't get into that today. The freaking idiot. Who would say? Did I say what Dolly would say? No, I didn't. All right, I'll get back to that. Critical analytic observation. And he said, and his phrase was, and I have stolen it or adopted it. I don't think he owned it. I think he just put it into some words and perhaps something he had heard himself and was repeating it. But it's ingest, digest, express. An artist, if he's a true artist, I would say, ingests data, information, ideas, concepts, visions. That is to say, sight, insight, and he digests that information in his middle mind, which is, if he's a true artist, is exceptional. And then he expresses the results of that process. If I look at a scene, well, there's the other cat now. I have cats. I love them. I'll be right back. Where was I? Let me see. What I do is that I observe, let's say, the human condition. I take the information that I gather with my eyes, my ears, by activating all of my senses: sight, sound, taste. And analyze that information as best I can. And that's usually better than the average person. When I say better, I guess that's relative. I don't suppose the average person has to gather information and then write about it and describe it in detail, accurately. The average person doesn't need to gather information in order to come up with a verbal expression about what they've seen. I find it interesting because the internet has made it possible now for everybody to express themselves, to say something. Whether it's true or not, whether it's rational or logical or not, whether it's true or not. Everybody wants to say something. Everybody wants to put their 5 cents worth in there. The fact of the matter is, most of the stuff on the internet, on these social media sites like Facebook and Twitter and so forth, are, by the way, whatever happened to MySpace? Is that still around? I think this ability, thanks to technology, to communicate, to express oneself, to voice one's opinion, it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's marvelous. It amazes me. It's sometimes a bit overwhelming. Everybody can say something now and actually say it, and other people will hear it or read it. The old days is a little different. Back in the old days, a painter would paint in his studio, and if he didn't get that painting out in the public's eye, then he was unknown and unseen. So it's all changed. I can do a painting, paint it, and frame it, hang it on my wall, and take a picture of it with my camera, my digital camera, my cell phone, post it on the internet, and there it is. The world can see it. I've contributed to the clutter of the internet. And there's a lot of clutter on the internet. Everybody's chattering, and bickering and arguing and being upset and frustrated and angry and getting pissed off and cussing and yelling and ranting and raving. Hey, I do my share of that. And it It could boggle the mind. We got over 7 billion people on the planet, and a large percentage of them have access to the internet. When you have that many people talking at the same time, I guess it's quite possible to be confused easily. You just get overwhelmed with everybody's opinions going through the airwaves of the internet. Didn't used to be that way. Usually the most confusing part of communicating, let's say, on a telephone was you were on a party line and your neighbor could listen in to your conversation. Of course, now we got the NSA and so on listening. Probably even listening to this program. The dirty dogs. We should just shut them down, really. Because they're bad people. Bad people. All right, so today you can just post something. Over 1 billion people belong to Facebook. 1 billion people on one website communicating, or attempting to, each other. And everybody wants to be heard and seen and acknowledged as, I'm a human being, I'm alive, I have something to say. Even though what they have to say is pretty much pointless, useless, and babble, particularly in light of the modern day situation where English language has been turned into babble by the mind benders. Yep. The mind benders. So, communications are there. Everybody can express them. Well, not everybody, but lots of people. Obviously, billions of people can get on the internet, say something, whatever they want. Good, bad, right, or wrong. Most of us just chatter. Yada, 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 yada. Ad infinitum. One of the problems that I ran into when I started getting on the internet about 15 years ago, I was just so fascinated by what you could do and see, read. All kinds of stuff there. Everything's there. I mean, everything from rocket science to porn. And I'll make this point, by the way. Nothing wrong with porn. It is what it is. It has a purpose. And I'm guessing it serves the purpose. Not a bad thing. So that's one of my observations of society is that, porn exists. It's a good thing. Now, it's neither good nor bad until you apply it to yourself in some bad way or good way, depending on your application of porn. By the way, say porn addiction thing is just bullshit. Like sex addiction. Oh, I'm a sex addict. Yeah. No, you're not. You're just not. That's just bullshit. I won't get into that now either. I'm just kind of laying a few tidbits on here as I go along, and I have to get back to that. All of these little points and spend a little time explaining or extrapolating on each one of them in detail in the future. Not now. That's not the purpose of today's program. The point of today's program is to put a bunch of ideas, one right after another, machine gun fashion. Put them on the line, put them out there for you to pick up on this one or that one, whichever one appeals to you. And you have an opinion. You've been listening to this for 35 minutes, and you have opinions about all of the stuff I'm talking about. All these little points I've been adding, linking together on a show. Like or something stands out in your mind, like he said, you know, and you're gonna like have an opinion. And like, it's probably not a good opinion. It's probably not the right opinion. So, chances are, some of you will say, "Yeah, but that's a good point. I agree with that." What if you don't? It's monologues. It means I talk, you listen. You can't really talk back. I love radio. But there is a feature on my webpage, radio show page. You can make a comment if you like. I haven't blocked that. I haven't deactivated that feature. You can say something if you want. Doesn't mean I'll listen to it, read it. It doesn't mean I give a shit what you think. But I do, sometimes. I think it's important to give a shit about what other people are thinking and saying. Otherwise, that would mean that my listeners are unimportant. Well, obviously you are. Without you, this would just be me rambling on to nobody. That would not live up to my expectations of what this is and what I'm doing. All right, take a break. At any rate, I hope I've said something here in this show that caught your ear. Perhaps inspired you to think a little bit about something, whatever it is I'm talking about. And think about it. Just pick any particular point that I made or any particular statement or phrase that I gave you. Think about it. If you have any questions, you're free to ask. Perhaps your mind will be activated and you will be inspired to investigate, to research, to consider a different perspective on things. Hopefully my perspective. I will continue in the next episode. And maybe I'll even kind of stick to one thing and follow it through to the ultimate end. All right? So, catch you next time. This is D. McClung, Art Monologues.